Have you ever wondered who invented time? Not clocks, not watches, time itself. Right now, your entire day revolves around it. You wake up at a certain hour. You eat lunch around noon. You know exactly when to work, relax, or sleep. But for almost all of human history, none of that existed. There were no clocks hanging on walls, no watches strapped to wrists, no phones displaying the exact second. So, how did ancient people know what time it was? The answer is surprisingly simple. They looked up. Long before civilization, humans noticed patterns in the sky. Every morning, the sun rose. Every evening, it disappeared. The moon changed shape every month. The stars slowly shifted across the night sky. These repeating cycles became humanity's very first clock. People didn't think in hours or minutes. Instead, they thought in sunrise, sunset, the next full moon, or the coming of winter. Nature itself told them when to hunt, travel, plant crops, and sleep. For thousands of years, that was enough. But as villages grew into cities, life became more complicated. Farmers, merchants, priests, and rulers all needed a better way to organize their day. Waiting until around sunset wasn't precise enough anymore. People needed something more reliable. Around 3,500 years ago, the ancient Egyptians came up with a clever solution. They noticed that a tall stick cast a moving shadow as the sun crossed the sky. By marking where the shadow fell at different times of day, they created one of the world's first sundials. For the first time, daylight could be divided into smaller parts. Instead of simply saying morning or afternoon, people could estimate a much more specific time. It was an incredible invention, but it had one major problem. It only worked when the sun was shining. At night, or on cloudy days, the sundial became useless. Once again, people searched for a better answer. Instead of using sunlight, why not use water? Ancient Egyptians, Greeks, and Chinese engineers all developed water clocks. These devices allowed water to drip slowly from one container into another. Because the water flowed at a fairly steady rate, people could estimate how much time had passed. Some water clocks measured only a few hours. Others could keep track of almost an entire day. Unlike sundials, they worked indoors. They even worked after sunset. For centuries, water clocks helped judges keep court sessions fair, priests performed ceremonies on schedule, and astronomers observed the night sky. But they still weren't perfect. Changes in temperature could affect how quickly the water flowed. People wanted something even more accurate. Centuries later, inventors in medieval Europe introduced a completely different idea. Instead of using shadows or water, they used gears. Heavy weights slowly turned giant wheels inside tall clock towers. Each movement released with a familiar tick, tick, tick. These mechanical clocks didn't just tell time. They announced it. Huge bells echoed across entire towns every hour. For the first time, everyone living in the same city could organize their lives around a shared schedule. Markets opened together. Workers began together. Church services started together. Time was no longer personal. It became something the whole community shared. But another problem soon appeared. Every town measured noon differently. When the sun reached its highest point in the sky, that town declared it was 12 o'clock. The trouble was, the sun reached its highest point at slightly different moments in different places. A city just a few miles away might already be several minutes ahead or behind. For hundreds of years, this wasn't a serious issue. People rarely traveled very far or very fast. Then everything changed. The railway arrived. Trains connected distant cities like never before. Suddenly, every minute mattered. If every town kept its own local time, train schedules became confusing. Passengers missed departures. And, in some cases, trains risked using the same track at the same time. The world needed everyone to agree on one system. In the late 19th century, countries began adopting standard time zones. Instead of every town setting its own clocks, entire regions followed the same official time. It made travel safer, business easier, and communication much faster. The system worked so well that eventually most of the world adopted it. Today, our clocks are more accurate than anyone in history could have imagined. Modern atomic clocks are so precise that they lose only about 1 second over millions of years. Satellites, GPS, smartphones, and the internet all rely on incredibly accurate timekeeping every single day. Yet the journey began with something much simpler. A person standing outside, watching the shadow of a stick move across the ground. Looking back, it's easy to think someone invented time in a single brilliant moment. But that isn't what happened. Humans didn't invent time itself. Time has always existed. What humans invented was a way to understand it. From watching the sunrise, to carving marks beside a shadow, to measuring dripping water, to building giant clock towers, to creating time zones that connect the entire world. Every generation solved one small problem. And together, those small solutions created the way every one of us experiences time today. Perhaps that's the greatest irony of all. Something as invisible as time ended up becoming one of the most carefully measured things in human history.